Greetings, I'm Walter D. Donnie Kennedy, Chief of Heritage Operations for the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and this is October 2021 Commander's Comment. And we're here with Commander-in-Chief Larry McClooney Jr., and we're going to talk about activities going on in the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and especially let's do a little summation of what went on this past couple of weekends ago.
I'm still trying to come down from that emotional high on that one.
It was a good one.
It was. Finally, we were able to bury General Forrest and his wife at Elm Springs.
Correct.
We had over 2,500 people to register for the event, and they
Correct.
were not, I would say, left unsatisfied.
You know, I noticed from the time I got there Thursday to the time I left Saturday afternoon, even with the bad weather, spirits were high. I was watching some of the honor guards, the reenactors, infantry practicing in the rain.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just absolutely amazing.
Well, for an event like this, whether it's rain, shine, snow, I don't think you could turn away our people to observe such an event like this.
And it was a historic event.
It was.
Very few people will ever be able to say they participated in or was around a funeral for a Confederate general and his wife.
Yeah.
How many people can say that?
Very few. I mean, this is actually my fourth Confederate funeral to be involved in.
Well, this was like. But tell us a little bit what went on. Start out with, well, if you don't mind, start out with Thursday before the general got to Elm Springs.
Thursday, the general left an undisclosed location, believe it or not, in Mississippi, and he had been hiding out there for quite some time, and he was brought in early Thursday morning to the Forrest Boyhood Home, and he was met with a reenactor cavalry unit and escorted to the house where his body and Mrs. Forrest laid in state for that day. And from my understanding, several hundred people visited there, especially some local officials from the mayor and the deputy mayor and so forth. To welcome the Forrest back home.
That's marvelous. Now, where is, just for our audience that may not know this, where is the Boyhood Home
Chapel
located?
Hill, Tennessee.
And how far is that from Elm Springs?
It's about a half an hour from Elm Springs.
Drive,
yes.
Right.
And when the day ended, the bodies were brought in Thursday night to Elm Springs, unbeknownst to anybody, with no fanfare, no protests or anything. In fact, there was no protest the entire affair.
Everybody was happy and pleased.
Yes,
That was great. Well, let me ask you one quick question on the Boyhood Home. Who owns that Boyhood Home?
We do. The Sons of Confederate
Right.
Veterans, the national organization, owns the
Right.
Boyhood Home.
That's smart. I'm sorry to bounce around, but I just want to make sure our people understand that this is our property. We, the membership, owns that. And, of course, there are some great folks there in the area who really maintain that. Kudos to them because they've done
yes.
a great job there in that area. Continue with us. Tell us what happened on Friday.
Well, then Friday morning, the bodies were brought to the front of the property where they were met by an escort of the mechanized cavalry. I salute those men. They lined the entire roadway up to the house. They were wearing their white shirts and their cuts and dark trousers. And the bodies were led off with a honor guard, a drummer, and we had the riderless horse.
Right, with the boot turned backwards. It was all very well done.
I think my wife and Linda Boshears were filming that, and they both said they broke down and started crying when they saw the riderless horse come up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the Met Cav, they really did. I want to say, because the whole time I was with the entourage as we was marching up, so many of those people I know, so many I don't know, but they stood proud. They really did us a good service.
You know,
just wanna
I
say
can
kudos to
still,
them.
the hair on the back of my neck and arms just stood up as we walked between the rows of Metcalf because they stood at attention and saluted
Yes.
until the hearse went by. And then they
Correct.
followed right in behind the hearse and walked up. And there were pallbearers waiting at the house to bring the bodies in. And as soon as the bodies were laid to rest in state, I opened up with a few words before we opened the house up. And I think somewhere like about 1,000 people went through that house in just a half hour. It was just
Correct.
amazed how.
Correct.
But you know what I thought was amazing? How respectful, how quiet
Very
everybody
dignified.
was.
Very dignified.
I
Yes.
mean, there was no playing, no shouting. Kids were even quiet as they went into the house.
I think everyone understood why we were there,
Yeah.
and they really did us proud, all of us, and I know the general and his wife would be very pleased
Yes,
with what
yes.
happened.
But on Saturday, we just knew it was just going to be a monsoon. I mean, the bottom fell out.
Oh, it did.
General Scotty Garrett, who was in command of the battalion of infantry, like you said earlier, they were drilling in the rain. They were expecting the worst.
Yes.
But yet, there was about 100 infantrymen there, and they
Absolutely.
stood there in the rain and they took it because they were there for a reason.
That's right.
And what was it? Somewhere about 20 minutes before everything started, the sun started to come out.
Absolutely.
And to this date, like I said, Donnie, when we was discussing earlier, I've never attended a Confederate funeral or memorial service that it rained during the service. Either rained before or
Right,
rained after.
rained after.
But the sun came out. Some of us were getting a little overheated there for a while.
I was longing for more hair or a hat for a while, but
But not long after it was over with, there was the threat of rain. We had to bring the bodies back in. I think a lot of people was glad because it gave them a chance to
view them.
visit again. And it was almost like, as soon as we got them in, it was like the angels just
Right.
started crying as the bottom came out.
Now, we've had a couple of speakers. Could you just briefly say, I know you spoke, obviously, as Commander-in-Chief. Past Commander-in-Chief Paul Graham spoke.
Yeah, he delivered General Forrest's farewell speech to his men after he surrendered.
Right.
We had Mike Moore, who's the Adjutant-in-Chief of the Military Order of Stars and
Right.
Bars, who brought greetings from the
Right.
Commanding General. And Dottie, was it West?
That's a singer, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure it was West or not.
But the president of the OCR
Yes.
in Tennessee
Right.
brought greetings as
Right.
well.
And of course, our own Chaplain-in-Chief Herman White gave an excellent presentation, reminding us what funerals are really all about and what Forrest and his type of life that Forrest and his wife led.
And Ed Phillips delivered the
Yes.
eulogy.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I forgot about
But
Ed.
I was amazed at how many of the Forrest family was there. There was quite a
Yeah.
few members of the Forrest
Right.
family there.
What was the relationship? Was it great grandchildren
Yes.
and great uncle
It
nephews
was
and nieces?
the leaders of the family that were there was the two great grandsons, and then there was some cousins, and that was there, but there was the great grandsons and their wives were there.
Right. Well, it really, that brings us back to who we are as members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, because we're here not because of you and I, but because what our ancestors did for us.
Exactly.
And, it goes back to the old biblical idea of honoring your father and your mother. I always often remind people in the Jewish tradition and in the Christian tradition, we have sacred memory. Every time we take communion, we do this in memorial to us. During Passover, the Jewish festival, they're taught, tell your children about how all these things happen. This is a biblical injunction to remember and honor your ancestors, and that's what the Sons of Confederate Veterans is all about.
I agree, Donnie. And now the general and his wife are at rest at Elm Springs, And, I just invite everybody to come out and pay their respects to the general. If you couldn't make the funeral, come to Elm Springs and pay your respects to the general and his wife.
Honor and respect. And,
Exactly.
We're going to do that. Well, Commander, that pretty well wraps up part 1 of October's Commander's Comment. We'll be back shortly with part 2 of October's Commander's Comment.
Victory Flags and More in Flora, Mississippi, and online at victoryflagsandmore.com is an affiliate of Victory Marketing Systems, which partners with the Sons of Confederate Veterans to bring you the Southern Victory Campaign. Listen, if you need an American or Confederate battle flag for a grave marker or any other purpose, Victory Flags has them. And we're making it easy for you to take a visible stand for liberty as the founders of the United States and the Confederate States defined it. Freedom tied to Christian principles. Our American Heroes, Confederate Heroes t-shirt line is a perfect example. Take a visible stand for liberty by wearing our General Forrest shirt. It's available in many sizes and colors. And when your friends ask why Forrest is a hero, give them a copy of Bust Hell Wide Open by our friend Sandy Mitchum. This book is destined to be a classic. Visit Victory Flags and More in Flora, Mississippi, and online at victoryflagsandmore.com.